All right, welcome back to the Paleo Maker MD channel. This is a M1942. This particular one is made by Aladdin and made in the year 1944. And I've not started it, I just bought it. I had another 1942 that went through a tragic accident. It blew up. I did not go through it well, and it ended up catching fire, and I took it outside, and I just got away from it and watched it, and it blew up. This is a much nicer version, and it came with the tool here, which I was excited about. We'll go ahead and pull out this pump. I have an entire video on the pump. We'll talk about that later. But we're going to take this thing apart. We'll go ahead and pull off the knob off of the valve here. This bell up top is pretty on there. I have to be honest, it was really on there. And I think it was probably somewhat cross-threaded, and maybe that was the problem. It still is okay, but it took a while for me to get it off, and in several times I had to get this wrench out. I finally did get it off. See a lot of soot there. Now I had to figure out how to get this whole assembly off, and luckily it came very simply actually. I just take the whole valve stem out, and there'll be a pickup tube, a unique pickup tube. It's a very simple one, doesn't have anything on the bottom, it's just a hole. So now getting this entire assembly out of this little cage was a pain, and I ended up having to take a little off camera here, taking off the spirit cup, which kind of is integrated next to the vaporizer. So pull that off. And really, even with that off, at that point you have the needle kind of exposed. And the best way I've found is just put some vice grips on there and twist it, and that needle will come right out. And you're not going to get that thing out of this cage without taking the needle out, or at the very least you're gonna mess your needle up. With that off, then you can finally liberate that thing. It took a while. Looks easy on camera, but it took me a while to figure it out. Just making sure that the on-off valve there, the needle comes off easy. Taking off the vaporizer here. It looks very good. It looks great to me. I'm just going to clean it up. I'm going to take all the parts and pieces and clean them. And here is the cleaned up fuel tank. You can see how nicely it kind of it looks. This is the pump. I have an entire video on the pump and how to maintain it if you're interested. I did not include that in this video. This pump works very, very well. And again, if you want detailed instructions on how to take it apart and restore it, change the appropriate seals, the pip, and all that stuff, look down in the description below and you will see how to do that. The M1942 and the M1950 are very similar. It's just that the M1950 is quite a bit longer than this particular pump. There's our needle. You can see how small it is. It's got that threading on the bottom, which allows you to thread it in to where it needs to go. There's our cleaned up bell and our cleaned up kind of cage for the top there. These all went into my ultrasonic cleaner along with the entire valve assembly, cleaned out very nice. You can see how the switch there works to use the clean out needle. All these pieces cleaned up very nicely. There's our vaporizer. I did squirt carb cleaner through the nozzle, put it back on there, tighten it up good. I didn't tighten it on camera, but you do tighten it just a little bit. And now we got to figure out how to get all this stuff back in there. We'll start with just this nut for the needle valve. All this stuff you just want to slightly snug up. It's all made out of brass, so don't go crazy. Now I got a little ahead of myself here and put the needle in. And if I couldn't get it out of the cage with the needle in, then I don't think I'm going to get it in. So I figured that out and took it back out, make sure I don't hurt anything. And I was able to sneak it in there. It takes a little while to figure it all out, but you do get it in there eventually. It is a pretty tight freaking fit. You want to get this little brass, and something like a little star-looking nut, I guess you could call it, flat nut. And you want to thread it about halfway down, just like this. That's how it was whenever I took it apart, so that's how I put it back together. Getting our needle back in there. I don't remember if I show it, but you definitely, you do want to tighten it and give it a good, nice tighten. This is unique to the M1942 as far as I can see. It's this little collar, and then on top of the collar goes the vaporizer and the nut that holds everything on, along with the spirit cup. You can see me putting it on here. Difficult to tighten in place, but if I remember, I think it's a 1/2 inch. It's pretty big, 1/2 inch nut. Just tighten it nice and tight so that everything works. Then we're going to just snake it back in there and tighten it up. Just get it started. And you're just going to have to take your time and make sure that the cage is centered. Once it tightens up, you want it centered. Very easy to do. Now here is when I figure something out here. Well, not yet, I guess. I'll go ahead and put on my knob. A reassembly is never complete without a complete and total failure, which I had on this as well. I put this on. I'm thinking, man, I am good to go. This is perfect. And then I got to put my tool on. And I'm like, my tool's not going to work. Is there any way I can fit this? And the answer is, take it all apart. You can see it goes there, and it's supposed to be hovering over the knob. So take it apart, put it back together. That's how it's supposed to be. You want to line up that little notch with your knob. And now we are ready to test this thing out. So put some Coleman fuel in there. Very important, guys, when you work on stoves like this, before you do what I'm going to do, which is light it indoors, you need to check it for leaks. So I take it outside, I spray it down I pressurize it, spray it down with soapy water, and it passed like a charm. So here we're back. No problems at all. So we're going to try to get this thing started. You can also really listen to hear if there's any leaks or anything. I would not recommend starting a stove like this inside, but do it at your own risk. So we're preheating here. I've got some denatured alcohol going into the spirit cup. I'm going to do a couple of pumps here. You can pump it before or after. You just want to build up a little bit of pressure. I like this stove because of that little cleaning nozzle. It really is tight, and it almost acts as an on-off. So it's fairly preheated, and you just flip this up, and the gas will go. Now, what I experience here is not uncommon. It took me a while to get it to run well. I mean, I've had everything in ultrasonic cleaner. I've cleaned everything. I even put water in the tank, so I dried it as best I could, but it's not going to be perfect. And I had some difficulty. It would go, it would stop, and you just have to be kind of persistent in trying to make sure that you get it running, because it's just going to take a little bit of time. And keep putting some pressure into it, and you just have to be patient. This one, I start to get it heating, and ultimately what the problem is it's not well preheated. The preheat cup on this stove is tiny, and I just don't understand why, but it is. It's very small. And I didn't get it to go this time, and I got a little frustrated, and I turned it up a little bit too much, and you can see that we got some pretty serious non-vaporized fuel coming out. So I shut off the valve real quick, shut off the needle, and that would definitely preheat it. So the next time I did it, it worked just fine since it was fully preheated. And you can see that it is going nice here. Once it gets going, you can just pump it up a little bit, be patient with it, but it really, really is a good deal. Give it some nice pressure, and you can see it is really running well. Very happy with it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a very simple way to take one of these M1942s. You can take it further apart, but I didn't feel that I needed to. This is a good way to just strip it down, clean it up, get it ready, and make sure that everything is just right. As always, guys, I appreciate you checking out the Paleo Maker MD channel. Stay tuned for more videos. It's a lot of fun to deal with these old stoves. So thanks for watching, and be careful out there.